And today I'm fired up, all fired up about the topic we are going to discuss, okay? Because I know that it's gonna trigger some of you, and that's okay. That's where change comes from. Okay? The question I want to ask today is, if nothing changes. So what does that mean, right? So if nothing changes in your love life, so if you're single, you remain single. If you're in an unhappy marriage, you remain that way. If you're happily married, then that's okay too. If you're not satisfied at your job, then things stay the same. If you don't have enough money, nothing changes, right? What if that was the question on the table? Nothing changes, and then what? So many of us have been in a position to ask ourselves these questions because we've had a lot of time in quarantine to have a different model of what life looks like. And so we've all been pondering that question. Some of us started pondering that question long before quarantine. I know for me, my journey started about 3 years ago. And if you had asked me 3 years ago, what if nothing changes? I would have probably gone into a full-blown panic. And I would have told you that that can't happen. That is not an option. Something has to change. In fact, everything has to change. Now, if you are watching and you think to yourself, well, if nothing changes, I am completely satisfied, happy, content, then by all means, we celebrate you because you are one of the very few. But for the rest of us, there's one area of our life that is spinning or stuck and it's not working. And if we had to ponder what would it look like if it didn't ever change, that's a pretty constrictive feeling, right? It's not a thought we want to stay with for very long. And so what do you do about it? How can you change? And as many of you know, you've heard me talk about it on Soul Seekers. I am about to come out and launch a book called Reboot Your Life. So what does that mean? You know, we hear reboot so often when it comes to phones and electronics and laptops, and we know what it means for those things, right? We are spinning, we have that little colorful wheel that goes round and round. And so we turn the device off, and then hopefully when we turn it back on, everything's shifted and upgraded and you've got the newer versions and it works, right? So the question is, can we reboot our lives? Can we apply that concept to our life? And I'm here to tell you that that is exactly what I've spent the last 3 years of my life doing. And today I'd like to share with you a little piece of that, a little piece of where my reboot process started and how to get you started on the process as well. If the answer to your question is no, I would not be okay if nothing changed, because that was the answer to my own question. And on Thursday, I'm going to share and get a little deeper into the reboot process, and I have a little surprise at the end of the video, so be sure and watch Thursday's video as well. It'll be like a part 2, okay? But today I want to go back to that question, because when we know that something isn't working, that doesn't mean we do something about it. Sometimes we sit in it and we simmer in it, right? And we just are okay with the fact that it isn't working. We tell ourselves, well, it's not awful. I mean, it's okay. It's good. So that should be enough, right? We can't break that ceiling and say, no, I want more. I deserve more. I am more. I came here to be more. And so there's this level of average mediocrity that we settle for because we think that it's ungrateful for us to ask more, and we think about the people who have less, so we are satisfied with our status quo. But I know I wasn't okay with my status quo. I wasn't okay knowing that I loved a man, but I couldn't make my marriage work. I wasn't feeling like I was enough of a wife. I wasn't feeling like he was enough of a husband. I was a mother and I love my kids more than life itself, but I wasn't feeling like I was rocking the mom life either, you know? And in the process of all of that, being a wife and being a mother, I was losing the identity of Linda. I was losing who I was as a woman. And the farther down that rabbit hole I went, the more disconnected I felt. Until that epiphany moment, that moment when I looked in the mirror and thought to myself, who the hell is that? Right? She's not me, because she's looks old and tired and sad. And where's her passion? Where's her zest? Where's her pizzazz? Her, that joy that she's had carried through her whole life. And so I knew that something had to change. And that is where I began my reboot process. That is where I began to say, I'm not okay if nothing changes. I need to do better. And so I had been aware of the things that weren't working, but I was sitting in a bunch of wish lists. I was sitting in the, I wish I had done better. I wish that I had, I wish I was a better mother. I wish I had done different. I wish I had taken a different path. I wish I had made a better choice. I wish I had made a choice, because sometimes not making a choice is in fact making a choice. And it was just this lackluster essence to what was left and what I was faced with. And so what I started to do was pick one thing. If I could change anything, what feels the most broken? What feels the most dense? Where would I begin change? Where would I start? And for me, that process was passion, right? That's what fueled me. I wanted to be passionate about my job, passionate about my love life, passionate about being a mother. And I wanted to also allow my kids to see that woman, allow my children to see a woman that woke up every day with a smile on her face, with love in her heart, with courage, with bravery, it wasn't that she wasn't afraid. It was that she was afraid and chose to still do those things she was scared of. It was a woman that I wanted my kids to look at and say, wow, can't believe she did that. Can't believe she stepped out of her own comfort zone, right? Because comfort zones are really nice and cozy, and they feel really safe, like a warm blanket. But is a warm blanket really good when it's like 95 degrees in the desert? Is that when you want to be cozy? And that's kind of the analogy that I think of, because sometimes we wrap ourselves so tight, and really the best thing for us is to just get uncovered, right? To get out of our own way and to be responsible for the change we want to make in our lives and to take ownership. And sometimes if you have to look at all of the changes you need to make, it's just too overwhelming. So I encourage you to pick one thing. What area of your life needs the biggest reboot? Where could you focus your attention and move the needle that will have the greatest impact? So that if 1 year from now, that future you were to come back and sit down next to you and have a conversation and say, hey, what's up? Listen, here's what this year looks like. What would they tell you? And if the answer you got was, well, it looks just like this, and that makes you want to not breathe, then we need to fix that. We need to make a change. And we need to reboot our life, knowing that at any phase, at any age, we deserve all that we came here to be, all that we came here to have. We are enough, and we deserve the abundance and the joy that the universe has to offer. So I ask you the question, if nothing changes, is it a result of the limitations that you have placed upon yourself? I know for me, the answer was 100%. I put myself in a box. I told myself what was possible and what wasn't possible, and then I chose to believe those thoughts. And those thoughts that told me what wasn't possible locked me into my own despair. I did it. I had a bunch of people I wanted to blame. I blamed it on circumstance. I blamed it on my husband. I blamed it on a lot of things. And, sometimes the external does influence our happiness. But at the end of the day, this is your life. You get one shot. This is the main event, because we all know that it's not a rehearsal. Could you live with the fact that nothing will change? Or do you want some change and you're looking for ways to do that? And so with this reboot, I hope that I've brought a little bit of awareness. On Thursday, I'm going to go into a deeper dive and tell you what it looks like once you're aware that, yeah, Linda, this can't stay the same. It has to change. Then we're going to talk about what comes next. What do you do with that awareness? And don't forget, there's going to be a little surprise at the end. So I hope that you join me. And I want you to really leave you today with the question so that you can spend some time alone and get the answer and get the clarity that you need. If nothing changes, are you okay with that? Then what? And I will see you all on Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye, everybody.